I feel like no one talks about the realities of what it's like to be the first person in your family to have a significant high, mid to six-figure income, and what to do with that, the pressure that comes with that, how to make sure that you're still setting yourself up for financial success, how to make sure you don't go broke, right, when you're no longer in your prime. Because at least for me, like when I see these, for example, athletes who are in their prime, they're making millions of dollars per year, but then when they're no longer pro or a couple years later, maybe even if they are pro, they're broke, right? But you were just making millions of dollars. How are you broke? And again, I think that kind of interplays or interweaves with what I'm seeing, which is that I don't really see podcasts, books, YouTube channels geared towards these high earning or high net worth individuals. And I consume a lot of podcasts. I consume a lot of books. I consume a lot of those things. And it's always along the lines of how to find an extra $1,000 this month, how to, make more money so that you can invest, how to do all these things that is kind of geared towards those making less than six figures per year, because you have to find that extra money, and not towards people who already have the money to build that financial stability or actually financial abundance so that they can retire and still maintain their lifestyle, right? So that financial literacy, that financial availability or guidance isn't really there for those high earning or newly high net worth individuals. Now, of course, yes, those high earning and high net worth individuals can and should get financial advisors if they don't know exactly what to do. But I also think, just generally speaking, Mike Tyson comes to mind, right? Just an amazing boxer. And then not too long ago was talking about how he was broke. I recently saw news of some actors coming out talking about how they were broke. And these are really prominent actors. And so again, I think it's especially prominent for those of us who are the first in our family to come into this kind of wealth. So because we're not taught what building that wealth and keeping that wealth, building a legacy means, and how to use our money to make more money, right? How to make our money work for us instead of us having to forever work for our money. And I think what that ends up doing is causing us to go into this cycle where we start making this money and we instantly spend because we've never made this amount of money before. I've never had this amount of money before because we're not used to it, right? We weren't born into it. And so there, it's like the financial literacy piece is missing. But then you also have like the pressure piece, right? And the pressure piece is like, you're the only one, or you're the first one in your family who's making this kind of money. And so you feel the pressure to take care of your family. You feel the pressure to maybe even take care of your friends, to give to your friends, to give to your family. And you kind of have no boundaries around it. And you have no idea of how much is too much, or what's reasonable, or how much should I give, right? So all these different things. And it's kind of like you have to navigate, or at least I had to in the past 2 years, like navigate this space of figuring out, okay, Sephora, what do I do? Like, how do I actually make sure that I'm setting myself up for success? How do I make sure that I have the ability to retire in 15 years if I wanted to, while still being able to give back to my family, to help my family? Because especially like my parents, and maybe for some of you guys, your parents too, right? They made sacrifices for you to get to where you are. And so you don't want to like leave any of them in the dirt, but also realizing that you have to have boundaries surrounding, right, this new income that you have, and surrounding how much money you're giving, because it's not just on you to financially educate yourself, but it's also on them to make sure they are financially educated so that they aren't blowing the money you give them, right? And so a part of that is maybe you having to take the initiative and making sure that you are the one giving them that financial literacy, because if they had it, then they would have taught it to you before you made the money, right? So that's just a couple of things that I was definitely going through the past 2 years, and to an extent I'm still going through and still learning, and I have learned a ton. But a part of that is also like, okay, as someone who is high earning and not someone who has to find the extra $1,000 or find the extra money to invest that, a lot of these podcasts, YouTube channels, and different things talk about, it's what do I need to do to make sure that I am setting myself up for my future? And a couple of things I'm doing that I talked about in my previous video is, number one, investment properties. So house hacking, right? Instead of jumping and making my first home, my forever home, which is like a multi-million-dollar home, I'm choosing instead to house hack and buy investment properties as my first home. So multiplexes where I will live in one unit and rent out the remaining units and essentially keep doing that. And so over time, I have this huge real estate investment portfolio that's just giving me that passive income, right? So that's where I'm using my active income to buy these properties, and then my money is making me more money because the people who are living there are the ones who then turn into paying the mortgage, and ideally then I'm able to pocket whatever is left over, right? So that's one thing I'm doing. The other thing, of course, is investments, right? The biggest return you can give yourself is investing into the stock market. And so even if you're a high earning or high net worth individual, making sure that you are setting yourself up for financial success by investing in the stock market. Make sure that you are investing a portion of your income, 15 to 20% of your income, going into the stock market, because over time, that's going to give you guaranteed returns, right? And I suggest using an investment calculator. So for example, I've used an investment calculator and said to myself, okay, if I want to have, let's just use a random number, if I want to have 20 million in my investment accounts in 20 years, right? Then how much do I need to invest per month for that to happen? And because then I can retire in 20 years with 20 million in my accounts. Okay, and again, using a random number, okay, I need to invest 6,000 per month into my retirement accounts. So then I know investing while I'm in my prime, or while I'm making this amount of money, or while I'm in my active working years, I'm putting that money into those investment accounts, and I'll have 20 million waiting for me when I'm ready to retire, if I choose to retire, right? Because I don't have to retire in 20 years. I can keep working, right? And then just using that investment calculator to figure those things out. And that's just an easy way to make sure that you have that money sitting there waiting for you when you're ready to retire, and making sure that you aren't broke or going broke after having made so much of your money. You're not spending all of your money. The other way I've started to think about things is say, okay, I'm not spending the money I actively make. I'm going to spend the baby money of that money. And so essentially, how do I take the money I actively work for, so whether that be in my big law job or whether that be in my business, how do I take that money and make it make money for me? So the stock market is one way of doing that. There's tons of other passive income, like kind of pathways for you to do it, but those may take a little bit longer. I talked about the stock market. I talked about real estate, right? So those are just two, but there's plenty more. You don't have to choose those two. You can choose your investment choice or whatever it may be. I know some people choose to invest in stocks that give them dividends. So there's many different ways to take it, but essentially the mindset is trying to spend the baby money of the money and not necessarily the money that I'm making from actively working. And so that way you are putting your money to work for you and making sure that you aren't just spending every single thing you get. Another thing that helps to deal with kind of the pressure, or maybe even the guilt, right? There may be even a little bit of guilt of feeling like you have to give, is setting up boundaries and setting up reasonable kind of stipends or salaries or whatever you want to call it. And let's say, for example, you're like, okay, I think each month I want to give $10,000 to my parents. You budget that into your budget, right? You put that into your budget and you say, okay, each month I'm going to give $10,000 to my parents, and that's what they're getting, right? And then each month I'm going to do this. Each month this is my spending category. Each month this, right? So really making sure that you have these things mapped out, and you're giving yourself, choose a number or a value or whatever it may be that you are going to feel good about, right? So something that's going to make you feel good to give and not make you kind of feel dirty or grimy or hate yourself for feeling like you're not giving enough. And you don't have to give 50%, right? You don't have to give half of what you're making to anyone. You are the one who is in control of choosing how much you are giving, how much you are loaning. And I would definitely recommend, choosing a number that you feel comfortable with and saying, this is an amount that can help them. This is an amount that will give them a nice life. This is an amount that I feel comfortable with, and with some financial literacy on their part, they can also live an extraordinary life with, right? And there's tons of different ways to go about doing that, but putting that in to help deal with the pressure of kind of feeling like, or even guilt, like I said, of feeling like you're making too much money and all these people around you who you grew up with or who grew you literally aren't making any, right? Make a plan and put that into your budget. The other thing, of course, that you want to make sure you're doing is you're having that high yield savings account with your 6 months of living expenses in it. So just in case anything were to happen, that you are covered. Some other things that you can also start thinking about, of course, is getting your estate planning set up. You're never too young to do that. I actually am in progress of doing that right now. Same thing with life insurance. You may be offered that through your job, but you can also always get more life insurance. So again, another thing that I'm in the process of doing. So there's tons of different things, but because I've never seen, and I listen to a lot, like I said, I've never really seen things kind of cater towards those who are already high earning, those who are already making a lot of money, on how to truly make sure that they can maintain that lifestyle. That's why I wanted to make this video, because what you want to actually do is go in and write these things out, put them into a budget, break it down, really make sure that you're putting away what you need to put away. If you said, I need 30 million to maintain this lifestyle when I retire, then how much do you need to invest? How much do you need to be doing to make sure that you have that? Make sure you have a Roth IRA. I didn't even talk about that in this video, but you should be maxing out your Roth IRA every single year. It was $7,000 till 2024. You have, I think, you have a few months to do it to max out for 2024, and then it's again $7,000 for 2025. So again, making sure that those things are maxed out. But there's things that you have to make sure you have in place so that you can maintain your current lifestyle as a high earning, or as someone who makes low to mid six figures, or maybe even more, whatever it may be. And especially if you are the first person in your family to do so. If you found this video helpful, then definitely let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what other videos you would like to see, or if you have any questions, follow me on my social media at Sephora Gray Esquire. That's ESQ for short, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.